Okay, for each problem, find the differential dy. So we're going to take the derivative. Over here, you're going to put this in parentheses. The derivative of negative x squared is negative 2x plus 4. Whoops. And then we're going to multiply each side by dx. So dy is equal to negative 2x plus 4 dx. And this process right here is the precursor to integration, where there's a dx over on the right side. Okay, so let's do another one that looks okay. So when we take the derivative, so remember we're going to write this as x to the 1/2. So you bring the 1/2 down in front, so negative 1 over 2, and then subtract 1, that'll be negative 1/2. Negative 1/2 means you put it down here. And then we're going to do this, and then multiply both sides. And I think on your note sheet, I left off this step right here. I think I left it just dx over on the left side, and so I apologize for that. I left that off. Okay. Now, okay, for each problem, find the general formulas of dy and delta y. Remember, delta y, when you're looking at a graph like this, and here's the y value, and so if you have x1, x2, here's y1, y2, this change right here is delta y. That's what we're talking about when it's talking about delta y. All right. So, and at this point, because you know the dx is going to end up on the other side, which is what my note sheet shows, you're just going to take this derivative, tack on dx like that. I'm okay if you do that. Okay, now delta y looks like this. So delta y equals, so it's f of, it's the x plus delta x, subtract f of x. So remember, f of x is y1, the x plus delta x, that's just y2 minus y1. That's essentially all we're doing here. All right? So you take that original function, so delta y is x plus delta x squared plus 4 parentheses x plus delta x, because everywhere there's an x, you're going to substitute x plus delta x for this first part. So this first part is this. And then we're going to subtract the f of x, which is x squared plus 4x. Then when we simplify this stuff right here, there's going to end up being a positive x squared and a positive 4x, and these two things will end up canceling. So when you square this right here, it'll be x squared plus 2 times x times delta x plus, in parentheses, you have to put parentheses because it's the whole thing being squared. We're going to do the distributive, plus 4x plus 4 delta x And this subtract applies to both of them. So subtract x squared, subtract 4x. What we're going to do is so here's a positive x squared, here's a negative x squared. Those cancel each other out. Here's a positive 4x, here's a negative 4x. Those things cancel out. So our delta y is 2x delta x plus delta x squared plus 4 delta x. Okay, this is the general formula. Now, if they gave you an x value to plug in, and if they gave you a delta x amount to plug in, you'd plug it in to find the delta y. This is the general formula of delta y. This is the general formula for dy. All right, I'm going to do another one of those. Okay, up above we already figured out what this is, so I'm not going to rework that because we did that up there. You can look at the above sheet. Oops, I'm going to let us just tack that on. So this is going to be negative 1 over 2 times root x dx. Now remember, for delta y, you use the original. So it's a negative sign, radical sign, and under the radical is x, so now we put x plus delta x, subtract the original square root of x. And the only thing you can do here is subtract a negative becomes adding a positive. So negative square root x plus delta x plus square root of x. And that's it for that one. Okay, so this is a rational function. And remember what the rule is here. You could do the quotient rule. You could think about this as -2 is the f function, x is the g function, find the derivative. But when you end up simplifying this, if this starts off negative, this will be positive, and I believe it ends up being, this will now be this. I'm going to double check. Yeah, so here is the quotient rule. G times the derivative of f, subtract f times the derivative of g, so subtract a negative, that becomes adding a positive, over g squared. So, okay, so that's our dy, and now we tack on dx. So when we find our delta y, this is a little bit trickier. So it's -2 over x plus delta x, subtract -2 over x. So that immediately becomes this. Now here's the tricky part. These don't have the same denominator. So I have to multiply this one, top and bottom, by x. I have to multiply this one, top and bottom, by x plus delta x. Because remember, you say, well, that one has an x. No, this has an expression, x plus delta x. All right, so then you simplify that. All of that is over. Then down here we can do the distributive. X times x is x squared, plus x times delta x is x delta x. And in the numerator, those two things cancel each other out. So the final delta y is delta x over x squared plus x delta x. All right.